How we doing? Getting there. Not quite time to play, but we're getting there. And I got 3 days of really good, important practices, and we're excited to get back out there tomorrow and get practicing and tighten some things up. The kids have worked hard. We've had a good fall camp, and it's getting to that time where you need to go play, even though you think you could use another month to get this right.
There's a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement about this game, 2 top 10 teams in a $1 billion NFL stadium. What do you like about opening a season with a matchup like this?
Well, I think the players and fans might like it more than the coaches, because you just know there's going to be, it's those first game things where it's like, how did that happen? And when you're playing a team as good as Auburn, that can be painful. That can hurt you bad. But I think it's very challenging. It makes you have your game right from the start, and if you're not, you're going to pay the price. And so our kids understand that. But just how we prepare. You can only work as hard as you can, and I think our kids have always been very focused and into it. It doesn't matter really who the opponent is; they're going to give their all. They're going to give their best. So that's why I've kind of said it's like, well, it's not like we're going to practice harder than we have or be more focused. I think these kids, this is very important to all of them, and hopefully as coaches, we've pared things down and don't overload them too much. There's always a tendency early on. First game, you got all this time on your hands to have too much for kids, and let them play and play fast.
How would you characterize Jake's camp, and how nice is it for you to have a 4th-year starter going into a game of like this where you need to be good from the start? Yeah,
I feel great about him. I think he's done a really good job in camp, and he's played in a lot of big games, so you feel good about that. And so I know he's going to be able to handle all that. Everybody wants to go talk about him. That's the last guy I really want to talk about, because I think it starts in the lines always. The front 7 for Auburn, and they're super athletic, in the secondary. If we don't give him a chance to set his feet or get our run game, no one's going to have a chance. And so I think Jake's going to be fine. It's they got some guys that played a lot of football on that defensive side, and they're very stout and very physical. And so to me, it has to do with how some guys in front of him hold up to give him a chance to do his thing.
Coach, how does your experience playing in the Peach Bowl and playing in the Fiesta Bowl, how can you draw off of that going into another big game?
Well, I think that the quality of team we're playing is certainly like those teams we played there. I look at Auburn on defense, and it seems very Alabama-ish to me. It's that physical style, that really athletic. They don't give you anything. You got to earn everything fast, all those things. That seems really, really similar. And some of those kids have played in those games, and some haven't. We'll have some new guys that don't know anything about this. We're, taking some freshmen that, we may or may not play. We'll probably, take more that won't play, but we want them to see this, what this feels like, what this looks like, and because they may be in there and it'll be different for them.
Chris, adding on to that, it just, at least from the West Coast perspective, growing up, it always felt like the SEC was kind of this dark, magical, mythical place where only amazing football was played. And growing up, I know a lot of these guys are obviously from the West Coast. Is that something you even have to address with these guys at all, just the kind of the mythic nature maybe of the SEC, and just how tough it is to play down there, and knowing, how Alabama went and that kind of thing? Well,
yeah, I don't think it's anything about mythical or anything like that. I think they play really good football. It's good football down there, and that's what it is. You just watch these guys play good football. I think football's very important, in the South, and part of the culture. It's awesome. From the players growing up to the fans, that's what they do. And I always think it's neat to be around places that are so passionate about something like that. And that's what I think, might be a little bit different than we got passionate people out here, but it just seems like across the board in those regions of the country, it's just passion for football. And, out here, even in Seattle, there's some people here that don't even know we have a football team. And it's just how it is. So, I think that's what might make it a little different.
But I know when you were a boy, so you played Georgia, and then obviously here you played Alabama. There was no amount of kind of debunking or anything that you had to do to kind of try to level the playing field in a weird sense?
We're not playing their whole conference, their whole conference. We're playing, it's our first game. It's one game against a really good team that's going to be a team that a lot of people are going to talk about throughout the season. We know that. That's what it is. And, I think it's just really important that we have this, the coaches have this in perspective. It's one game against a good team. And win or lose, we got a bunch after us. And it doesn't, no matter what happens, it doesn't make or break our season. It just doesn't. That's the mindset. We're on to the next thing. What did we learn? How can we improve no matter what happens in that outcome? And so they understand we're playing a really good team going in from a really good conference. And we just study the tape. But, I think we can't make it bigger than it is. You talk about mythical and all this kind of stuff. It's like, you trying to scare our guys or what? We're already nervous enough.
Are you curious at all to see Jimmy Lake start to sort of develop his identity as a play caller? No.
I've been around him for a long time, and we have our style. The thing hasn't. We're not putting in a whole new defense. There's tweaks and different things. And I always say there's a lot of blitzes, there's a lot of plays. There's, you just got to pick and choose what you like. And we're always evolving, we're always tweaking. But he and Coach K have been in cahoots for a long time. And I think it's a great opportunity for both those guys, for Jimmy to call a game and for Pete to be right there in his ear and those guys to go back and forth. So I think it'll be exciting for him. But am I super excited to see what this is going to look like with him? Not necessarily.
I think you guys obviously take a pretty collaborative approach to game planning. It's not as if there's any surprise in terms of play calling come game day, but what is the hardest part about being in that seat and actually making those calls for the first time?
I think if you do a great job during the week, your calls are really slotted. And, the smart game planners keep things nice and tight for the game plan. There's all, like I keep saying, you see those guys with these huge call sheets and all that. It's like, that's just going to confuse a lot of people. We think it's the opposite. You keep nice and tight. The kids have heard these things over and over. You got your game plan. There's not a bunch that, as a play caller, knows that's a real easy tendency to fall into. You want, well, what if that doesn't work? Well, we got this. What if that doesn't work? We got that. Well, that can hurt the kids. It can water down how much you can practice and all those things. So I think so much of the work is done during the week, and if you're smart and keep that thing nice and tight, the game plan, it really helps the kids. Now, is there a feel for it? And, what are we doing well? And is there matchups that we didn't count on one way or another that are a problem or a benefit for us? Then you get to certain different calls. But I think there is a feel to calling the game. There certainly is. But I think when it's done correctly, all the logical work is done when the emotion's out of the game, and that seems to help things go better.
From your perspective, what about Coach K or the way he's approached things? What has rubbed off onto Coach Lake over the years? What are things that you think have really kind of shaped how you think he's going to become as a coordinator?
I think just the style of defense. There's a lot of styles. There's a lot of styles of offense, and that's the important part when you're putting a staff together. There's a lot of good coaches out there, but their style might not be what you believe in your style. From everything, how you coach kids to how you talk to them to the, you're going to be a huge pressure team. You're going to be not as pressure team. You're going to play bump coverage. You're going to play zone, all those things. There's a lot there. And so I think those guys philosophically have been so much on the same page and have rubbed off on each other. They're both excellent football coaches that smart, study the game, always tweaking, always evolving, and have just had a really good thing going. Both those guys have obviously been very involved in the game plan over the years, and so for one guy to call it, I don't think it's that big a deal. I think it's, to both of those guys, I think it's great time, great opportunity for Jimmy, and I think it's great for PK as well, for him to sit back and let him do it, and he'll have those game day eyes, and I guess I am excited for that, to be able to just that little switch in the roles, not so much as Jimmy, but even PK, to be a little bit more not caught up in the moment of what's my next call. You almost stay with the play a little bit longer than moving on as the play caller. And so that'll be good for those guys.
Conversely, with Bush, are you curious at all about to see how his style develops?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, I think there's always that, and this is you talk about getting your feet wet, right away against a defense like this. I mean, this is tough sledding. So, but I think that's what we love about this game. It's just so competitive and so challenging, and that's how this first game's going to be. I mean, it's going to be as challenging as anything we do all season long. And Bush works morning, noon, and night trying to get this thing right for the kids, like all of our coaches do. But he's been on it pretty hard.
With all the talk of the SEC and what this means for from you guys going there, how much of it is you wanting to show the rest of the country of what Washington and the Pac-12 football is all about, and just from that perspective, and you're shaking your head no? So.
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. This is one game. This is us playing Auburn. We're not playing their whole conference. The rest of the Pac-12 has nothing to do with this game right now. And so to put all this on us, we got to see how this season plays out. Everybody's like last year because of the bowl record and all that kind of stuff. And so they're all putting this is a chance it's got to happen. We don't see it like this. I mean, nobody else is playing Auburn in our conference except for us. I mean, this is about us. And so this is playing one of the top teams in the country. And so that's just how we see it. It's just us against those guys, and we'll see what happens when this whole thing plays out through the bowl season, and then you can, try to draw some comparisons.
Manning said though that he doesn't get a chance to watch a lot of Washington football, but he's.
Why not? Because the games are what? You say it. Go ahead.
But just that side of it though, getting a chance to show fans and not just kind of spread the message of what you're all about in your program. How much of it is that? Is there any element to that, and the fact that just people say that maybe you're underrated or not, but just getting a chance to prove that you're maybe worth the rating?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens at the end of the year. We'll see what we look like at the end of the year. I mean, one game right out of the gate and rankings and all this, they just don't. You guys know that. They've never meant that much to us. They really haven't. I mean, it means we got some experienced guys coming back, but we'll see how the season plays out.
Hey, what does your special team situation look like? Kick return, punt return, obviously.
Yeah. So Aaron Fuller, Byron Murphy, those two guys been getting a lot of reps back there. Chico's always in the mix. As a punt returner, and then we got a bunch of guys in the kick return game with Miles Gaskin and Savon and Sean McGrew and Austin Joyner and Quentin Pounds, and you can go on and on. We got a bunch of guys back there.
Is this a time where maybe a guy like Miles gets more opportunities than maybe he has in the past?
Are you talking about on kickoff return? I think he's just kind of worn me down. After 4 years, I mean, he just will not let off, and that's what I love about him. I mean, it's not like he's returned a couple. I think he's been out there. I think he's returned a couple in his career, but he's taken 1,000 reps because he's my scout team returner all the time. I mean, that's the beauty of Miles. Like, here's your starting tailback, and even though he hadn't been our kick returner in the past couple of years, we go to scouts for the kickoff return scout team. He was always the guy back there with me. And so we love that. I mean, that's when we, go scout punt return, the starting punt returners, they're getting work back there. And so he's got a lot of reps back there. And obviously with as much as he carried the ball, that, he just likes to play and he just wants to be on the field. And I sure appreciate that.
Is that an offshoot also with the competition between him and Savant in terms of who's fastest?
I mean, yeah, you know, I don't think it has anything to do with that. You know, they're both going to be back there. We'll see them both, you know, throughout the course of the year. And, you know, they're a heck of a combination. You know, their styles are much different, but they're both, you know, good players.
Chris, speaking of scout, who had the pleasure of playing the role of Stidham? Or who? Yeah,
I think all those guys have kind of rotated through. We still got these, you know, a couple practices here. I think all three of the two younger guys and Jacob Eason, you know, have all kind of rotated through there.
What kind of impact has Jacob Eason made just in the time he's been? I mean, he can't obviously, but just in practice.
Yeah, he's been great. He, you know, for me, the number one thing is just how he's fit in here. And he really has the guys like him. He's a really good guy. He's great to be around. And so that's been awesome to see. I mean, here's a guy that's, you know, played some big-time football already and can't play this year, and you never know it. He just fits in. He's awesome.
Can he help at all in a game like this against a team from his old conference? I mean,
he can throw good passes when he's on the scout team like Stidham does. Yeah, he sure can. Other than that, not much.
Did you see KJ's game last night?
I saw some plays of it. I saw some plays, and it was awesome. It was great to see him out there playing, and you know, KJ can play. We knew that, and happy for him that, you know, got his feet wet getting out there. And I know it didn't turn out how he wanted it to, but he'll have a good season.
Chris, in a big picture question, you were voted in a poll least likely to commit violation.
Oh, here we go. So now I know that goes.
In your view as an industry leader, why does it seem so hard to run programs in an ethical and honest fashion?
Well, you know, I just think there's a lot of things that happen that sometimes are out of our control, even though we're responsible for it. I mean, when there's 60 people in our building that we deal with on a daily basis. And I think we have one of the smaller crews in college football, you know, that work with, you know, from, I shouldn't say just in our building, but from our sports information guys to our medical team, to our recruiting, to our operations, to our, you know, video, to, there's over 60 people. And I mean, I try to keep it tight. You know, I don't like a bunch of extra people around, and that's what it is. And so, and you know, I guess you just got a lot of people, and super competitive, and things happen, and there's human nature involved, and all those type of things, and so, you know, I don't know if it's just unique to this arena. We're just always in the paper, but you know, you go out to businesses and all those type. You know, I think it's just how it goes sometimes.
You have in the NCAA, you have almost a super morality of trying to keep players from taking money and benefits and so on like that. Managing that, does it seem like it borders on the impossible?
I don't think it seems like it borders on the impossible. I mean, I think, you know, in my experience, you know, our players have been pretty good. Our players have been really good. We spend a lot of time trying to educate them and talking about it. You know, it's a little bit of that, you get what you emphasize in life and coaching and all those things. And so they've been good. I'm, you know, not trying to sit up here and say that we haven't made mistakes or make mistakes. I mean, we're far from that, but we work hard at it and trying to pay attention to it. And it's painful when things happen that it's like, I mean, there's been things happen that we talk about ad nauseum, and it's like, how can this happen? Well, it does. I mean, it's just when you're dealing, so that's 60 people, then you got 110 players plus, that's a lot of people. And, you know, you get, you know, part of it's kids, and, you know, they're maturing and growing and being, I mean, just, it's life. But we do our best to educate and keep talking about it and what's important. I mean, we talk about it. It's, you know, a little bit, it's just part of who we are and how we just want to be. And it has to do with not just like staying out of trouble. It just has to do with the bigger picture of what we're trying to do here with this program. And we still know that it's not going to all go according to plan. That's just not how it goes in life. But we'll do our best to try to keep doing things the right way.
Kind of look back at offseason that you wanted to grow as a coach personally, and some ways that you have grown as a coach and leadership philosophy?
Absolutely. I mean, we push our guys as hard as we, if there's a theme that, we have a couple themes that would run through this program, but one of them is the state of constant improvement. And that starts with me. That's one of the beauties of life when you're doing whatever. If you're not getting better, what are we doing? And so we push our players so hard, but it always starts with myself and our coaches and everybody around it. It's just about growing and getting better. So every year I expect to be a little bit better than, hopefully I was last year, and maybe not make some of the same mistakes that I made last year. But yeah, for sure, always trying to figure out how to take the next step as every part of my life.
Were there some ways specifically that you wanted to improve this year as a coach?
Yeah, I'd like to be more positive, more poised, more optimistic. All those things start with that, And even getting back to your question about, just doing that. We got in trouble at Boise State, when I was there. And we thought we were doing everything right. So there's going to be, mistakes made. And so I think there's a difference, between making mistakes when you know are wrong and making mistakes when you just didn't know, even though it's our job to know what's right and wrong through compliance and all those type of things. And so, that was one of the more frustrating things that I had been through, when you think you're doing everything right and it's still not right.
Following up on that, it is a big part of this making everyone accountable so you don't get blindsided when something happens.
Yeah, I think we're all in this together. And I think, all you have to do is pay attention to what's going on. That's the thing, like with our players, with our staff, with everybody, just pay attention to what's going on out there. And nobody's immune to this, and you see what's going to happen if it's not right. Yeah.
Chris, so is it about teaching who they are? You went back to saying that it isn't about trying to get in trouble. It's more about who the kids are and who they represent. Is that where you're coming from in terms of staying out of maybe decisions that could get in that bad situation?
Yeah, we keep talking about the kids, and I keep going back to myself and our staff. It just starts with us and how we talk to them and what we're all about. You want to talk about the kids, we have our golden rules around here. Be early. Number 2 is make good decisions. Like, that's so easy to throw that saying on the wall. We could talk for months and months, like, what are we talking about? Really good, successful people in life are really good decision makers. That's obvious. And so that's how we're trying to, I don't like talking about, staying out of trouble, scraping the bottom of the barrel. We talk about it, just because, okay, we got all different spectrums. I want to move to a different level of, like, how should this be when we're doing this thing, the best of our ability? If that makes sense.
Back to recruiting, obviously, when you want a kid to commit, you want him to be fully committed. So there's a lot of meaning that goes into that word committed. Is that part of it, where you want to be fully invested, doing the right thing? You should be doing this. Is that because everything goes back to recruiting at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit different there. I think this is a little bit off topic what we're talking about here. In terms of committing and stuff, we don't want a kid to commit to us unless he's, 1,000% sure that this is really where he wants to be. And how can anybody be 1,000%? And then you got all these other guys, when a guy commits, they're still not going to leave him alone and still be on him and try to change his, it's very, very difficult. And so, but if we slow things down, even though everybody wants to rush this thing, and a kid and his family make a real educated decision and really feeling good about it, you're going to probably have less guys flip-flopping and all those things.
Chris, what were some of the early conversations with Peyton Henry and obviously played with Hayner? I'm sure you saw a lot there. With someone like that, when kind of convince them, an out-of-state kid to walk on here, what are some of those conversations like?
Well, we thought he had a strong leg. And we thought that he was really focused on being a good kicker. And those are 2 really good starting points. And then, I think he just knew we'd give him an opportunity. A legitimate opportunity, and see where it goes from there. And, we were impressed with him last year just in terms of his focus. And I've been impressed with his improvement throughout the year and all those type of things.
Everyone on the roster expected to be available for the game?
Yes, except for our 2 transfers that can't go.